Okay, so since I added a zigzag pattern in my background, I added that to my drawing so that I know my plan, I can see it, and I know what colors everything is going to be. So I need to look at my pattern and decide, okay, the first color that I'm going to do is the color of my paper. Okay, so I wrote down white/black. That's my first color. So I'm going to carve out everything I want to stay that color. And that's why we colored that stuff. Okay? Once I carve all of that, I'm going to print, I'm going to roll red or pink ink onto the whole thing. And that's the first color I'm going to ink. I'm going to make a bunch of prints, and then I'm going to wash that ink off. And then I'm going to mark down and color in everything that I want to stay pink. So I would color my strawberry in. And then I would carve that out. Okay, so we'll get to that part. Let's just do one color at a time. So right now we're doing our white and black color. We've colored everything in. Now we need to carve. So you need a couple extra supplies. This is called a bench hook. Back this up a little bit. Okay, it has a little edge on it that goes this way, and then down here it goes the opposite way. So this is meant to go on the edge of your table, and it hooks on so it can't slide, and then your block goes up against this part. So this can't move, it doesn't slide. Okay, so you're not just having to hold it with your hand, because then when you're carving, you can accidentally cut your hand. So this is called a bench hook. Bench hook. Everybody will need one of those. And then this tool is called a gouge. And this is what you use to carve your block. So when you look inside of this gouge, there is a ball, and then there's two half circle pieces. And you need to twist this left to loosen it up. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. So we're going to twist it all the way to the left. And if you look really closely in there, let's see if this will focus. Nice. Nope. Anyway, on this side of the ball, you can see that that half circle piece of metal is a little bit thicker. And then on this side, that half piece of metal is a little bit thinner. The blades that we use to put inside of this gouge have all different tips. I don't know how to show you on this camera. Let's see if I put this. So this tip is really skinny, and this tip is a little bit deeper. Can you guys see that? There. It's so hard to see. This one's super narrow. This one's really wide. But on these ends, they look the same. They're just rounded. You're going to take that rounded part and put it in between the metal ball and the skinny metal piece. So the thin metal piece and the metal ball, you just slide it in there. So it looks like this. And then you're going to tighten this by twisting it to the right. Okay, so this should not wiggle, it shouldn't come out. I'm going to start with this really narrow blade. It's a number 1. So the numbers, as they get higher, the blade gets bigger. So you hold the gouge with this fat part of the handle in the palm of your hand and the index finger on the top. Okay, the round part is on the bottom. The open part of the blade is on the top. And I'm going to use my left hand to, hold down anything you need to hold down, but your hand should never be in the path of your blade. These blades are very sharp. So what my goal is I'm going to be carving out everything that's green. Okay? So I always want to carve away from me and towards the block. So instead of, you know, doing awkward positions and my elbows up in the air and I'm carving all different directions, you just rotate your block. So you move your block so you're always carving away from you, okay? So I like to do an outline around my object first. And then I put my thicker blade on, and then I carve out my bigger areas. Okay, so you can see how thin, let's get a little bit closer. You can see how thin that line is that I'm carving. I'm pushing down so it goes into the block. Carve out that line and then you can pick it off. So this blade is really skinny. I don't like how skinny it is, so I'm just gonna take this out by twisting it to the left, take it out, put in my bigger blade. This one is a number 3. Now it's stuck. Okay, so this one, it's kind of like a V shape, but it's not a pointy V. It's like a very pointy U, if that makes sense. It's not quite a V. So see how much bigger this gouge is. And since my zigzag line is right there, I didn't want to carve on top of that. I needed to carve around it. So I stopped and then I pulled this piece, I pulled it away. Because if I pull it this way, it might rip. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to pull that this way. Stop, pull. And then I'm kind of twisting this blade to the side, so I'm not using the very bottom middle. I'm using the side of the blade to get a straight line. And then I'm going to clean up this line and go this way. Make sure that line is nice and straight. Same with this one. Okay, so that one's done. And there are still some parts sticking up. You guys might not be able to see it on the camera, but sometimes the ink will go on those lines and they'll show up. So if you don't want those lines to show up, you got to make sure you carve those areas out that are sticking up. Go very slow, take your time. You don't need to press down very hard because this rubber is so soft. It's like carving cheese. It's very easy. Okay, so I'm gonna have everybody grab a gouge and then everybody will need to get a blade. I will give you guys a blade. If you want a different blade, you need to bring the blade that you have up to me and I'll swap it out. You can only have one blade at a time. Okay, these gouges are in that big cardboard box over there, so go ahead and grab one and make sure this part turns.